We hope you had a great weekend, and we thank you for taking 10 minutes for CNN 10. I'm Carl Azuz. Every 90 days, the President of the United States is required to certify an international nuclear agreement with the Middle Eastern country of Iran. President Donald Trump has done this twice, but this weekend he announced he would not recertify the agreement this time around. What does that mean? First, the deal. It's officially named the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. It was signed in 2015 while the Obama administration was in office. 6 countries, led by the U.S., agreed to remove sanctions, economic penalties on Iran, allowing tens of billions of dollars to flow into Iran's economy. In exchange, Iran agreed to significantly limit its controversial nuclear program, at least temporarily, and to allow international inspectors into the country to make sure it was living up to the deal. Inspectors with the United Nations say Iran is keeping its end of the agreement, but President Trump says Iran isn't. He says the country is still a nuclear threat and that he's not recertifying the Iran nuclear deal. This doesn't mean the agreement is canceled. It means that it's now up to the U.S. Congress to decide whether to reinstate U.S. sanctions against Iran, and that's something that could lead to the end of the deal. But experts say the Trump administration doesn't want to end it entirely, but instead wants changes made. For one thing, the current deal puts certain restrictions on Iran's nuclear program for 10 to 15 years. The Trump administration wants those limits to stay indefinitely. For another, the current deal does not limit Iran's ballistic missile program. The Trump administration wants it to. So Congress will be considering these new requirements as it debates what to do about the deal. What do others say? Well, Britain, France, and Germany, who were involved in the original negotiations, have said they still support the deal, that it's in their national security interest. Iran has said the U.S. president can't decide the fate of the deal on his own, but that if other countries in the agreement don't abide by their commitments, Iran would give them a, quote, fitting response. Israel and Saudi Arabia, who are not part of the Iran deal, say the Trump administration is doing the right thing by decertifying it, that more needs to be done to stop Iran's nuclear ambitions, missile program, and support of terrorism. The U.S. Congress now has 60 days to decide the next steps. 10-second trivia. In terms of land area, which of these countries is largest? Saudi Arabia, Mexico, India, or Mongolia? Covering more than 1.2 million square miles, India is the largest nation on this list. It's ranked 7th largest in the world. But in just 7 years, India could become the most populated country on the planet. That's according to the United Nations. It's estimated to surpass China with more than 1.44 billion people. Today, more than a third of the world's population lives in those 2 countries alone. They both struggle with overpopulation, though India has less than 1/3 the land area that China does. India's other challenges include widespread poverty and corruption. On the plus side, it has a diverse and growing economy. Almost half the people there work in agriculture, but expansion in software, business, and information technology services have brought in money. So if you look at a snapshot at life across what's known as the world's largest democracy, you see a tale of 2 countries.
India has arrived as a major global player, but my homeland remains a nation of many extremes. The gap between rich and poor is wider than ever and seems much more apparent today than it was in my childhood. 1.2 billion people live here, and more than 60% live on about $3 a day. The richest 10% control 3/4 of India's wealth. Here's another way to look at it. In India, the wealth of 16 people is equal to the wealth of 600 million people. One India boasts billionaires and brainiacs, nuclear bombs, technology, and democracy. And the other India, almost 75% still live in villages, many of them poor, and 35% cannot read or write. India will soon be the world's most populous country, and it's easy to see how such a divided presence could lead to a turbulent future.
Several months before Blake Rockwell was born, his older brother passed away at the age of 10. He had a congenital heart defect that prevented him from playing sports, though the neighborhood kids would make him the referee so he could still be part of the games. The boy whom Blake never met shaped his life, so much so that more than 10,000 seriously ill children and family members have benefited from the organization that Blake founded.
You want to throw it?
I'm gonna run it.
Okay, run it.
Hut, hut.
We tried to protect Carson in the beginning and not even let him hear the C word, cancer. But eventually we told him everything.
The sprinkler.
After transplant, we've been living at home in isolation. We can't look back and we can't look forward. We have to just do today.
My older brother Chucky was born with a congenital heart defect, and growing up he really wanted to participate in sports, but he wasn't even allowed to run. My brother passed away at the age of 10. Years later, I became a volunteer at the hospital where my brother was treated. Many of the kids who I met were as passionate about sports as my brother, but very few of them had ever been to a game, and that seemed absolutely crazy to me. I always wanted to take them to the games.
Make the medicine. Make the new medicine.
This will be the first time he's gone out in public since he was diagnosed.
Today I'm going to the OU game. It's gonna be super, super cool.
Remember the chant that they do on the football field?
Boomer, boomer sooner.
Special spectators takes seriously ill kids to collegiate sporting events with major universities. You a big OU fan?
I am.
Awesome. We're really giving them that VIP treatment.
So in here is where the team works out.
We're talking about getting kids into the locker room.
You get to put his helmet on.
Oh yeah. Okay. This is cool. Who has a foot this big?
They meet coaches and players.
The only reason this place is cool is because you guys are here.
Every game day experience we create is a little different.
This is today's daily news. This is awesome.
You gonna have enough energy for the game? All right. Just giving them access that the average fan doesn't have.
And that is.
It's not just about going to a game. It's about providing incredible memories for the kids and their families.
Let's give our special spectators a warm welcome.
Days like this restore the spirit in these kids to continue to fight.
Oh.
That's what motivates me to give them one of the greatest days in their life.
Last story today. You've got lemurs and you've got pumpkins. How could that not get a 10 out of 10? This is from the Indianapolis Zoo, where someone had this brilliant idea to carve out some pumpkins, put some raisins, treats, and cameras inside of them, and then let the lemurs have at it. A lemur-like love for all things autumn was born, though there was still a bit of a learning curve when one of the animals tried to eat the camera, too. So do we do lemur puns or pumpkin puns? Neither grows on vines. If you're looking for really gourd video, though, hollow out some time to feast your eyes on that again. It tells a really great ringed tale and spices up your knowledge of what the prime ate. I'm Carl Azuz for CNN 10.